What's up, everyone? This is the Go Along Podcast. Tyler Dunne here. Jim Onis there. Sponsored by Hamburg Brewing Company. A lot of new beers in there. Make sure you get on over to HBC in Western New York off the 219. Get your raspberry kolsch's, get your IPAs, get your sours. Berry Sneaky, still number one on the power ranking here for the summer beers, Jim. How is everything in your world? It's been way too long, whether it's virtual, whether it's in person. You've been a busy man with this XFL. I know you probably can't get into the nitty-gritty detail, but a lot of fun stuff happening over there.
I think we've both been busy. I mean, it's not like you haven't had a lot going on. Finishing a book, you got the family vacation, you got you got stories on Chase Edmonds. So, I mean, it's not like you're not busy either, but I think we're both just busy. And yes, it's time for a very sneaky as soon as we can. Would love that. But yeah, everything's been well. We finished all our showcases in the XFL and had our big press conference the other day in Arlington. And it was really cool to be a part of that. And it's been interesting to be a part of this from the ground up. And it's a lot of work, but a lot of people are so passionate about it. And there's still a lot more fun to come. And, I'm kind of excited because I'm going to be scouting the preseason a little bit in the NFL, and it takes me back to my scouting days. So it's just been nice. These showcases was like working football camps growing up. My dad had high school football camps. He was a college coach, and, you're just out there, you're just doing whatever you can to help. You might be emptying, water bases for signage. You might be getting water for the guys timing 40s. You kind of fit in where you can. And I love that stuff. So, but seeing all the players work out, putting their hearts out there like that, that was pretty cool.
That's awesome. It's the essence of scouting. The sport, it's really the essence of the sport. Mm-hmm. I mean, you are really putting your eyeballs on people who love this game to its core and want to stay in this game by any means necessary. Yeah. And it's on you guys to find talent, to find a product here. So it really is the ultimate assignment if you're a scout, isn't it?
No, it is. This is the fun part. Like I always used to laugh, like there's certain guys scouting, like somebody always asked me about like, who's the best, what was it like scouting like Calvin Johnson? And I just put my arms up like, what, how do you brag about scouting? You don't brag about scouting Calvin Johnson. You just feel fortunate that you work in scouting and you're able to watch a guy like that come from, and get to see his career in college. But
right. You're not the guy who found Calvin Johnson, right?
That's not scouting. That's not scouting.
In scouting, it's difficult to make the decisions beyond those studs. Yeah. But like this is even more difficult than I would think the decisions that you made in Philly and New Orleans and Buffalo.
Yeah, and that's what I always loved about scouting. When I was an area scout, I always loved the undrafted guys. I'm trying to get those guys to sign, and so it does take me back a little bit to that, because that's what we're going to be doing now. We're going to be evaluating the NFL rosters. The guys that are possibly getting cut. So it's going to be it's going to be fun to watch tape on those guys again and, see how it shakes out.
It's pretty cool. I mean, the XFL has come up in so many conversations I've had with players for stories at Go Long. I mean, I was just doing a Q&A with Clay Harbor, a tight end in the NFL for a decade, and he was on The Bachelorette, and he's like, hey, tell your guy, I told him about you, Jim, and he said, hey, tell your guy, I want a shot. He'll bring a Bachelor audience.
Well, we're going to talk about that, but guys like that, that's true passion. I mean, the fact that he still wants to play football, and I scouted him, when he was playing. I mean, he was always one of those guys in the NFL that you would pay attention to. Like, he might have been on a practice squad sometimes, and was that a guy you would pick off, their practice squad for yours, stuff like that. So, no, it's been cool. It's funny, just seeing like the reality TV thing with Clay Harbor. You forget about, like, I know how popular that show is.
I know people like you like it. My good buddy Dan Koob, who I worked with in Wisconsin, big Bachelor guy. I hope Dan's listening right now. I don't get it, but it's who was Nick Vialli, big Packer fan.
Yeah.
We got close a few years back. We had a couple beers in Wisconsin once. Great guy. I didn't even know he was a celebrity, but Go Long subscriber too, I should add. So it's big. who knows? Maybe Clay Harbor will be running around the XFL, and it's just really exciting to see, you guys kind of build over there, and it's going to be more football for people when this NFL thing wraps up. So you could sense the hunger; it was real. People wanted it, and then
it was cool. Yeah,
COVID
it was cool
had
to
to
see
ruin
ESPN.
everything.
Like, ESPN was doing drop-ins on us for SportsCenter Live, things on SportsCenter when we were at the showcase in Jackson, Mississippi with Deion Sanders. And then they did it with us in Texas. So it's really nice to see ESPN, kind of backing it and supporting it, and the NFL too. So yeah, definitely some good times ahead, I think.
Phenomenal.
Yep.
And yeah, it's been it's
so
crazy.
How about you? You've been traveling to training camp?
Not before. I thought that our car was stolen on vacation, Jim. I should share that story real quick.
You text me that.
It was,
that could not
it was a great family vacation. We were down in Virginia Beach with my in-laws, my wife, 2 kids, sister-in-law's boyfriend, cousins. It was a rip-roaring good time. Ella's making friends in the community pool, getting a little handsy. She's got that cute aggression. Ella, I love her to death. She just wants to play with these kids, these complete strangers at 2 years old. But yeah, there was a brief moment of panic. My poor father-in-law had to see a very different side of me. I might have punched a door, and there might have been a family of 5 on the door, and there might have been F-bombs thrown because I thought that our car was stolen, Jim. I really did. It was something else.
Wait. I got to hear the punching of a door.
I should backtrack. So we ordered
you can't
pizza.
Just throw that out there. I need more.
Right. We ordered a pizza for the crew. And my father-in-law, avid listener, Paul, just about the best human being that you could meet on the planet. Not a mean bone in his body. Love him to death. The nicest man that you'll meet. And also, I should add, a Bill season ticket holder since, the 70s. He's lived through it all. So order a pizza, go down to find the Toyota Highlander there in the parking garage. Nowhere to be found. Did a couple laps. It wasn't that big of a parking garage. Kind of fast forward, call the complex for where we were staying. They contact the towing company. The towing company tells them, we don't have it. We don't have the car. Lo and behold, they misheard the license plate number on the phone. The towing company did have it, but there was a very short window of time there where, we're ready to call the police department, look at security footage, and, it's major freak out mode. But, the easiest, whatever it was, $170 that I've spent in my life to just know that the car was, and you know what? It was my fault. I had a parking pass and I just didn't put it up. And I was going to get around to it. Didn't do it. There were empty parking spaces in the garage in addition to the ones that had the room number on it. So I just assumed, you know what? You can go in these empty spaces. It's kind of a free for all, visitors, what have you. And at the towing company, I found the guy who actually towed my car. And I told him, I wish I could hate you, but you're an incredibly nice guy. And we had a great conversation. And he admitted, he said, look, I towed your car because you were in an empty space. If you were in somebody else's number, I got to call that person and give them a chance to move their car. It was easy to tow your car. So there you have it, people. Make sure you get that parking pass up.
You guys both were honest with each other. I mean, that's good. Like you admitted, like you're admitting that, yeah, maybe you didn't need to do it, but you're also doing your job. It's also not like an official in a game. Like you didn't need to make that call. But I did that. But I did
because
foul.
Like holding on every play, there were other cars that didn't have the pass up. Several cars didn't have their pass up.
I did foul him, but come on, it didn't. Like, did you really need to call it?
Yeah, I think he almost felt bad. I don't know. I should have been pissed off at him, right? Like this is a guy I need to hate, but I couldn't hate him. It was like a young kid. He was really nice about it.
His job.
I don't know what led him into this line of work. What leads you into the line of work of towing other people's vehicles? I would imagine not a good path, right? Probably not a good path.
Man, it would take, if I was doing that job,
yeah,
it would take a lot for me to actually tow somebody. I think I'd put that thing right in park.
Well, not to mention the 2 car seats in the second row, right? I mean, we're a family of 4, clearly.
Like if I saw that, I'd be like, man, if
there's
I towed this
Coco Melon and toys everywhere. Like, come on, dude. Yeah.
Like that screen, if you tow that car, you're giving somebody a huge headache. Like,
oh man, like I said, I thought it was stolen there, so I wasn't even that upset to know it was accounted for.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you went from like, wow, yeah, that's a lot.
But it was fun. It was fun, and yeah, back at it. So we're cranking out stories. Got the series on Chase Edmonds rolling at golongtd.com now, so folks can check that out. Have a really fun story next week planned. Rashad White, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers running back, man, remarkable story on his front. We spent some time together. So thanks everybody for reading. And I'm really thrilled to sit down with you, Jim, and we're going to talk about your role. I'm not going to tease too much here on the podcast, but we've got some big plans for 2022 with my co-host. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, I think we're going to have some fun stuff coming.
Training camp. Training camp. So here's what we're not going to talk about. We're not going to talk about the Buffalo Bills eating turkey burgers. Let's just get that out there.
I can't do it.
I don't give a shit.
Go ahead.
I just don't care. I mean, I know everybody's writing stories and talking about it. Who cares that Josh Allen and Jordan Poyer enjoyed turkey? I'm sorry. I can't get into it. I think it's disgusting.
I read today that Mitch Trubisky in Pittsburgh, his first 2 passes in like a team period were incomplete and people were calling for Pickett. And
incredible.
I said, that's right there sums it up. I can't do it.
Football's back, baby.
Football's back, but I can't do it. Let me know when week 1 is here.
Yeah, I mean, I was out there at Bills training camp on Monday, Jim, and man, it's packed at St. John Fisher. You've got grown men screaming at Stephon Diggs. My wife loves you. You've got, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds yelling at players mid-practice for autographs and, players kissing babies. And I mean, it is pretty wild, the fan. But you know what? I get it. The Bills are Super Bowl contenders, but it was really like that with your Bills too. I can remember Fred Jackson getting these crazy ovations at your training camps.
Crazy. I couldn't believe I was like to be a part of that. It was not like that in New Orleans. We didn't go away to camp. So it was when I worked for the Saints, it wasn't like we had great people, we had fans come, but it wasn't like that. It was not like that. And New Orleans is insane with their design. They love the Saints.
Yeah, those Cajuns, man. Ooh.
No, it's. I mean, that's the greatest. I said that's the greatest home field advantage in the league at night when the game is at night in New Orleans. But anyway, yes, this is. I think that's what training camp a little bit is about. Is giving the fans who support these teams and put their money into their team, and their time invested.
Yes, it's a great opportunity.
A great opportunity.
That's why I got so pissed off at how difficult it was for people to get a training camp ticket. It should be easy peasy, a chance for families to get out, watch these players that are unaffordable to watch in person for actual games. It's great. It's just, I'm just saying, like people are going nuts for completed passes against air. Not a lot happened Monday. I mean, there'll be days when stuff does happen, but right now in training camp, it's just a matter of, I guess, just guys getting together for meetings and building camaraderie and figuring out how the hell this all works.
It is a lot about the mental part of it. You're only really, every team, honestly, the rosters are pretty much set when you go to training camp. Just from a personnel side, there might be like 4 to 5 positions that are probably, it's pretty much set. And like I said, 4 to 5 positions you're paying attention to, and then a lot of your time in personnel is spending on scouting the other teams and paying attention to who's getting cut on those teams too. But
was it always that way though? I mean, back in 2-a-days, I feel like when there were 2-a-days and it really went for a full month, like these training camp practices did decide a lot of jobs and positions.
Yeah,
and
that's a good
point.
Maybe
it's just, memory and nostalgia, but I feel like training camp, when I started covering the league in 07, 08 for a few camps, it was different.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember back. That it does seem like a long time ago.
Maybe not though.
No, I still feel like just I don't think I really understood until I was with the Bills. Like as an area scout with the Saints, I don't think I knew exactly like how many spots were pretty much, kind of locked up until I got to camp. And then I'd hear the guys talking to powers that be, all the decision makers. But when I was in Buffalo as a decision maker, I remember going to camp and we would do that exercise. Like, how many spots are even open right now? Like sometimes we're like, yeah, receivers are set, tight ends set, running back set, QB set. Like,
you were pretty honest with EJ Manuel last year on this podcast and told him like he didn't have a shot at that job.
didn't have a shot. No, I mean, that was probably one of my favorite moments of that talk with EJ. Was
right. Matt Castle, Tyrod Taylor there. EJ's just getting scraps and, they're selling this as this three-way quarterback competition, but it wasn't at all.
It wasn't. Nope, it wasn't. And that's it was hard too, because you knew EJ was competing and wanted it. Nope.
Well, we're not going to, debate turkey burgers and, battles for the
and Trubisky's incompletions and
punting battles. Let's try to get into some big stuff then. We spent the last episode with Tim Graham and Jay Skursky out there at a Genesee Brewing Company. Great road game there out in Rochester. Talking about 13 seconds. So we'll move on from the Bills. What about Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson, Jim? I think these are two quarterbacks worth sinking our teeth into a little bit. Kyler Murray, I think Arizona had to give him a contract, right? Like what's your other option? You're going to completely blow this thing up and start over and hope you get a number 1 overall pick again. And maybe that guy pans out. Absolutely not. And there's nobody like Kyler Murray. There's nobody that plays the position like him. Really. I don't think, Lamar Jackson can run as well, but he's very point A to point B, deliberate, as far as his spastic spontaneity, like Kyler's got a distinctive style. Just roll with it. Even if it does cost you $230 million over 5 years.
What are you going to do? I agree. I don't personally, there's a lot in his game that he has to refine, in my opinion. But you're definitely going with him. He's giving you chances. We always say, what's your next option? Don't have one.
I think we forget too.
You're invested in him, and as long as he's invested into this, and that's been the big talk about him saying about watching film, whatever. I don't know. We're not there. We don't know. If that's true, that would be scary a little bit. Just at that position, I just know the passion. I was around Breeze and saw how much that meant to him and how that gave him an edge. The film and Murray, when you watch him, it's not fun. Like as fun as he is as a highlight reel, they're watching them on offense is not fun. They are not. There's no rhythm to their offense ever. It's him just running around. There's a lot of jump balls. There's a lot of receivers making great catches that make him look good. That's not necessarily a recipe for winning a Super Bowl and playing the position that way. There's a lot of talent with him. I think there's a lot more with his timing, accuracy. Now, all that being said, that whole AJ Green thing, a play like, what happens if they were on the same page
against Green Bay?
Yeah,
in the end zone,
like stuff like that. I think about plays like that, and that wasn't Murray's fault.
To your point, though, on the rhythm and the offensive style play, that's so well said, Jim. I was just talking to an agent who had a high-profile free agent offensive lineman, we'll just say that, who could have signed with Arizona for more money than he got elsewhere. And trust me, he got a lot of money elsewhere. And he didn't want to play in this offense with Kyler Murray. He thought over the long term it was going to hurt his value and that it just wasn't conducive to his skill set. And as a lineman, you you don't like to have to hold your block for 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds and not know what the hell's going on behind you. I get all of that. And it remains to be seen if this can win, because 2 years in a row, things have kind of taken a nosedive for Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray. I do think last season, though, you've got some justifiable excuses between his ankle, kind of getting messed up midseason. He missed, I want to say, 3 games plus a bye week, so just about a month. DeAndre Hopkins, not having him for several weeks killed the offense more than I think the offense really thought it would. They thought they could kind of roll along, and they couldn't. This quote kind of resurfaced. Kyler Murray had a great conversation with Ben Spiegel, good buddy of mine. He writes for the New York Times, does a fantastic job for a story in December of 2021. This is Murray talking about his style. Quote, I think I was blessed with the cognitive skills to just go out there and just see it before it happens. I'm not one of those guys that's going to sit there and kill myself watching film. I don't sit there for 24 hours and break down this team and that team and watch every game, because in my head, I see so much. And obviously, most people have heard or seen the clause that's apparently in his contract requiring Kyler Murray now. It's like a homework clause, it's almost like a mom telling 13-year-olds stop playing video games and instead do your homework. It's ridiculous. I'll let you talk first. I gotta
go
ahead,
Jim.
I know
you want to talk about it. I'm more saying that quote actually makes sense to me, the way he plays. He plays like he doesn't see things. Like I just said, I never even heard that quote before, but I was just saying he plays with no rhythm. Like he doesn't. So, that's pretty crazy.
A lot of money so
tough,
to give that player.
Tough. He is. He's just so tough, and he's so athletic, and like throwing the football is easy for him, and it's so fun to watch. I just don't know.
This is where Kurt Warner. Sorry, yeah.
No, it's not. I don't right now see him being a Super Bowl. I don't see it.
This is where Kurt Warner would, interject and say, this is why Kyler Murray isn't going to win. I mean, he has told us several times over, you've got to be able to play in rhythm from the pocket, take your layups, again and again and again, death by a million paper cuts. That's how Tom Brady just keeps winning Super Bowls. So
I agree.
But I'd still pay him. I'd still keep him. I mean, if you're the Arizona Cardinals, a team that's never won,
I agree too.
You don't have other options. And I kind of like that quote in a weird way. I kind of like the fact that I don't know if he wouldn't ever be able to play quarterback the other way. All he's known is his creative style. So you might as well, at this point, lean into it, go all out with it, try to accentuate what he does best. Just allow him to turn it into street ball. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, fine. But hey, all your chips are in the middle of the table. Like there's no turning back now. You made him the pick. Unless you're willing to blow this thing up, which they shouldn't. You've got to go this way.
You have to. Yeah, I agree. I think Kingsbury now, if they don't have some success this year postseason, I think Kingsbury is probably in trouble.
And this is where it's interesting too. If you look at their roster, Jim, I'm gonna pull it up. We spent some time talking about Carolina's roster, and it's sneaky good, right? Because we get so obsessed with the quarterback play and tend to think, okay, they've been botching the quarterback position so much, Carolina that is, then the roster must stink. But they've got a pretty good roster. They do. Their defense is good. You look at Arizona, and man, you could make the case that they're sort of decaying from within. Interior wise on the offensive and defensive lines. I mean, you're hanging on to JJ Watt. That gives you something. Marcus Golden, you're hoping that, he's revitalizing his career a little bit, but Zaven Collins, I think they were looking for their own Tremaine Edmonds, a big linebacker that can move. Is that the right player to chase, to try to emulate? I don't know. Budda Baker's fantastic, but before you know it, he's going to be kind of old, or getting up there anyways. Can he extend his career? You need him to, because he needs to be the star on that defense. It's not a bad roster, but it's a questionable roster, right? Like
Right.
even DeAndre Hopkins, what happens with his game whenever he does return from suspension? Rodney Hudson is your center,
Good points.
you're relying on him to call out all the defenses. He's getting up there.
Yeah. No, you made those are really good points. There are, it's why so when you pay him this money, this is why, like, hey, you elevate us. This is on you now to elevate.
I did like the Hollywood Brown move though. That gives them
Do you
a
like
little
it?
something.
See, yeah, I struggle with him. I
Hmm.
just the drops kill me with him. He drops a lot of balls. I can't.
He does.
I absolutely can't stand it. Like that's like one. It's just
I kind of like drops. I want to mix in some drops. I don't want a guy showing off, Jim. I want to drop here and there.
But I can just picture it now. Murray running around like a maniac. Play of the year. Lets it fly.
Yeah.
Brown drops it.
They're college teammates. They played pretty well together at Oklahoma.
But I will say this. I mean, he certainly has proven he can make plays. I'm just talking. It's just the consistency to me is what separates teams. Like, that's what I'm talking about with Murray. He's got to be consistent. Hollywood, catch the ball. Like, those things you got to have consistency to win a Super Bowl.
When it's good though, Jim, like when that offense is clicking, it is like a fast break in basketball. It's like when the Phoenix Suns were kind of changing basketball with Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire,
Right.
And it's up and down the court with Mike D'Antoni. It was insane. It was different. That's kind of what Cliff Kingsbury is trying to do. And when it's clicking, it's fun to watch. I mean, no team plays that fast, and Murray can play that fast.
Mm-hmm.
I just think their problem last year, injuries. It just, if you have a couple guys go down, it throws off that rhythm, it throws off that timing, and that's the problem. You need depth. It is kind of like basketball in that sense. Like if you're going to play that style, you need a deep bench of guys who can keep up stamina wise at that pace. Arizona didn't have that last season. Chase Edmonds got a little banged up. He misses time. James Conner gets a little banged up. DeAndre Hopkins gets hurt. Kyler Murray hurts his ankle, and their season just kind of fell apart. So, they were the last undefeated team in the NFL, and the getting was good. I guess you just have to go for it again, though. And, I've talked to people who know Kyler Murray and how he's wired, and there are people who kind of think that the whole 4-hour thing was a little blown out of proportion, and that, when he's in the building, like he is in charge. Right, like he is in command of this offense.
That just seems like I just can't imagine putting that in a contract.
Yeah, the fact that you do have to put that in isn't a good look.
I just think it's strange.
It's almost like a kind of like
why was it
like a prenup or something? It's just like something's wrong with this relationship.
But was it 4 to 5 hours?
Yeah, 4 hours of no video games, no tap.
Like, why 4 to 5 hours? That's what I don't like. Why that number? Like, I don't know. I don't like it. But anyway, well, he's going to be that. You're right about the injuries, though. That was real.
What a brutal division too, when you've got San Francisco and the LA Rams to worry about too. And Drew Lock's Seattle Seahawks, but no, the Niners and the Rams aren't going anywhere.
Getting used to saying that.
Yeah. We'll definitely get into our predictions again at some point, but at Arizona, where do you view this team? Can they contend for a Super Bowl?
I think in the NFC. Sure.
Yeah.
I think in the NFC. I would not say that if they were in the I feel okay with them in the NFC competing for sure.
I kind of put them in that Minnesota bucket.
It's hard to, we know the Rams. It's hard to do it again like the Rams. Green Bay, we've talked about them forever.
Yeah.
Man, we're both doing it.
Yeah, no, man, what the hell's wrong with us, dude? All right. So Kyler Murray, there you have it. I will say this, based off that conversation that I had with somebody who coached Kyler Murray and knows him and his game extremely well. We actually talked today, Jim, as I was taking the kids for a walk on Bat Creek Road here in Boston, New York. The kids were amazing. I mean, they held tough this whole conversation as we were walking back there. So credit to Ella and Sonny, but it was a great talk. We'll have a story up based off of that one relatively soon. I'm with you in Arizona. Let's touch on Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens.
Yep. I know we did a couple weeks ago, a little bit, but you start.
He's there, and
it's fascinating.
What's interesting about it, him not having representation.
Yes.
Because if he did, I don't know if it's right or wrong to have an agent. Like, part of me does respect a player just doing it himself. Because really, I mean, he's kind of looking smart right now to just not give away X amount of percent of his deal when the parameters are kind of set, right? I mean, Aaron Rodgers does this, Deshaun Watson does that, Kyler Murray signs this. Lamar Jackson can ask for more than anybody. I mean, he's an MVP. He's next in line.
I think he can be the highest paid player if he wants to be.
And then a year or two from now, it will look like a steal because Joe Burrow will break the bank. But the fact that he doesn't have representation, like, we don't hear his side of the story, and we don't hear any leaks or really know where the two sides stand on an extension. Typically there's that gamesmanship going on between both parties, and we're able to kind of like read between the tea leaves and figure out what's going on. We haven't really. I don't know. Part of me thinks he'd like to see the offense evolve. I don't know if that really factors into dollars and cents and wanting more money, but I do think that's part of it. Him wanting to see Greg Roman evolve this passing game to an extent, like, because he shoulders a lot of that blame. And Lamar Jackson's not perfect. He's had his rough moments and rough throws, but I'm sure that weighs on him a little bit. What do you think?
Well, there's two things I'm fascinated with that you just touched on. It's funny how we don't, like how you said, we don't really hear what's going on with the contract stuff or what if there's banter. It goes to show you that agents talk to the media. Like, I mean, not that it's not known, but this one is an example of we don't know what's going on because Lamar, if he's talking, it's him talking to the Baltimore. He's not going to tell anybody. So that's one thing. The Greg Roman Lamar thing, I think, is going to be something to pay attention to. Yes. There's too much that smoking, where there's smoke, there's fire there. You just hear it doesn't sound like the players, there sounds like there's issues there, like we talked about before with Greg Roman. But I think those are the big stories in Baltimore right there you're not getting rid of, you can't lose Lamar. I mean, you can't get rid of Lamar. Like, how do you replace Lamar Jackson? I guess what I'm saying, I'm talking about if they don't feel like their offense is where it needs to be.
This is the breaking point. 2022 has to be the breaking point.
So you're going to go all in on Lamar, but then get him a new offensive coordinator next year?
He picked his wide receiver. I mean, he picked Marquise Hollywood Brown per Marquise Hollywood Brown. When I did that story on him at Bleacher Report, I take Brown at his word. He said that him and Lamar Jackson are tight, both South Florida guys. And their team asked Lamar Jackson, "Who do you want?" And he said, Hollywood Brown in this draft or Jerry Jeudy in the next draft. I believe I have that right. It's in the story somewhere. And he's gone. Now he's gone. He wanted to get out of there. He's going to be in a contract here. He wants to put up numbers. He wants to get paid. He didn't think Greg Roman and that scheme would get him there. You look at that depth chart. It's one of the weaker wide receiving groups in the NFL. Now Mark Andrews is one of the best tight ends. Yes. It's a big part of the passing game.
Greg Roman and tight ends are.
He wanted Charles Clay for you guys, right?
Yes. And he used him great. I mean, he got everything out of him. And I think he does that with Andrews too. Those two are, Lamar and Andrews are, I mean, they're in sync. I know that team is fast. That team's kind of fascinating. I know we talk. That's a team I'm really like. If Lamar is on and healthy, that's the team I think that can mess with, Josh Allen or Mahomes a little bit, just because of him. Because of him. And if that defense obviously is healthy.
I mean, no team was as banged up as Baltimore in terms of just key starters.
Secondary was done. So
the running back room and the secondary just
the running back thing.
Practice squad players by the end of the year.
Yep.
What about this quote to Mike Sando? I'm sure you caught this. Mike Sando does that excellent quarterback tiers story this time of year, chatting with anonymous offensive and defensive coordinators around the NFL. Here's what one defensive coordinator had to say about Lamar Jackson. Quote, if he has to pass to win the game, they ain't winning the game. He's so unique as an athlete, and he's really a good football player. But I don't care if he wins the league MVP 12 times. I don't think he'll ever be a 1 as a quarterback. He'll be a 1 as a football player, but not as a quarterback. So many games come down to the 2-minute, and that is why they have a hard time advancing even when they are good on defense. Playoffs are tight. You have to be able to throw the ball, and he is just so inconsistent throwing the ball. It is hit or miss. Obviously, it's easy to tear that quote down and apart and, shove it into the incinerator because, if a guy wins 12 MVPs, then he's probably pretty good. But, there is always a shred of truth in a quote like that, though, too, right? You do need a guy to win from the pocket 3 to 4 times in a row to win in the playoffs. And we haven't seen, you and Doug Whaley have talked about it on this podcast. Like, you need to see that out of a quarterback that time of year.
I do. I mean, with Lamar, yes, but what he's done in a short period of time and not even always being healthy, it's insane. Like, you have a chance to win a Super Bowl with him. Yes. Is he going to be the reason you lose? I guess maybe if he has an off day passing, but you have a chance to get there and win it with him too. So yes, he would need to, we've talked about that. I mean, he needs to find a way to make those throws in the critical situations in the big games for sure. But I'm just telling this guy, I don't know what else needs to be said.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I'm with you, and I've been Team Lamar for a while now. How do you defend this? I mean, he's more than adequate enough to win through the air, but what he brings you as a runner, it can just drive you mad. I mean, the fact that you have to account for him every play and every gap. I mean, he's a good inside runner and an outside runner. I can't get that Kansas City Sunday night game out of my head early last season. I mean, he had the Chiefs D linemen, their heads were on a swivel. They didn't know where he was. They didn't know what he was going to do play to play. And then lo and behold, he's, pop passing something right over your head. So that's something that you want to accentuate to the upteenth degree if you're the Baltimore Ravens or if you're any NFL team. Give me Lamar Jackson 10 out of 10 times, and he'll win a Super Bowl. I really do think that by the end of his career, he's just too talented. He's just too good.
It's so hard. We won one Super Bowl with the greatest passer, Drew Brees. Okay, so everybody wants to talk about passing, accuracy. Yeah. There's so much more that goes into it. Like, we had maybe the most accurate passer in the history of football. And we won one Super Bowl. Did we have chances to win more? Yes. And that's my point. We had an opportunity to win every single year because of Drew Brees. We won one. It's that hard. The Ravens with Lamar have a chance to win a Super Bowl. It's so hard. Like, it's just that hard to win.
Isn't it just wild, Jim, how games and legacies are decided and defined by like such a sliver in time? I mean, I'm just thinking back to the NFC Championship game last season. Rams, 49ers, Jaquazi Tart, he has an interception in his hands. If he just catches basically a punt of a pass from Matthew Stafford, the Stafford talk is a 1-8. It's completely different. This is the same guy. This is the same guy we saw in Detroit. He's gonna kill you.
No
Instead,
question.
they survive. They win the Super Bowl. He's throwing a no-look pass on a game-winning drive, and it's Matthew Stafford, a Hall of Famer. Boom.
Now we see him. Now he's on that commercial that's on nonstop. I swear I see him on that. I don't even know. I don't even know what it's for.
It's all about just that sliver in time, and in that moment, it can define careers, can't it?
Like, think about that. If Tart makes that pick, Stafford's career is just, they're all getting bashed. Instead, those guys are Les Snead and McVay are in those press conferences laughing. They can't stop laughing.
Jimmy Garoppolo gets to a Super Bowl. Maybe he wins that Super Bowl against Cincinnati. What happens to Jimmy Garoppolo? What happens to Trey Lance? What happens to San Francisco?
Agreed.
It really is. And that's why, if we're going to kind of bring it full circle, if I'm Arizona and I know Kyler Murray is a freak, I'm paying that freak. If I'm the Ravens, I'm paying Lamar Jackson whatever he wants, and
agree.
Just roll with it.
Agree.
So we'll see what happens, but I think that, those are definitely two players to watch this summer as you're consuming 24/7, 365 training camp coverage. Anything else, Jim, that's intriguing to you?
I'm ready. I'm ready to get this thing going.
Well, we're going to hit the road. I wish it was I wish you were coming with me, Jim, but I'll be hitting the road next week for some camps. Going to go to Pittsburgh, or I should say Latrobe, and then the Colts and the Bengals. So 3 teams that are hoping to contend for Super Bowls right here in the Northeast. Yeah. We'll hit those up. Expect some stories through the month, into the regular season. Big plans. We'll save them for another show. Thanks for listening, everybody.